Society must acknowledge that we have failed for not preventing people from committing suicide. That's according to Chief Psychiatrist Dr. Osei, who is also pointing at the current economic hardship as one of the contributory factors to committing suicide.
And people are having hardships. You will have this happening.
He's also worried the family system is breaking down, reason why we find ourselves here.
Actually, because the family structures that used to be there, that supported ourselves, are breaking down.
But for Dr. Osafo, a psychiatrist and sociologist, to reverse the issue of suicide is by turning our pulpits into messages of hope.
The infusion of hope is so powerful. And this is where pastors are needed. This is where our pulpit should be turned into messages of hope.
You recall 5 alleged suicide cases have been reported in just about a month. So what is accounting for this trend? What role does society need to play in reversing the situation? Has society filled its responsibility? We will be getting some responses from a psychologist, a psychiatrist, plus a counselor on today's big story. My name is Osei Brian. Four females and 1 male. First was a KNUST female student, then a teenager at Kaswa, and 2 others from yesterday, a 16-year-old in the Eastern region and a level 400 student at the University of Ghana. Today, the body of a man believed to be in his 30s was also discovered by some residents of Achimota hanging on a tree close to the Achimota overhead. Even though it's not been confirmed as suicide, the situation is still worrying. Let's listen to the CEO of the Mental Health Authority, Dr. Osei, on this trend.
I must say, in the past, suicide has been there all along, I must say. But we seem to be getting the spate increasing these days. Partly because the family structures that used to be there, that supported ourselves, are breaking down. In the past, everybody was everybody's responsibility. Every child was every family's responsibility. So you could go to your uncle, you could go to your whoever for the person to give you all the counseling. Now, because of the nuclear family system, we don't have that support. So as the family system is breaking down, to our worry, we now require the modern structures to be put in place to support the system which is now no longer there. And that is why we require the guidance and counseling. We require the society to appreciate the role of clinical psychologists and the mental health workers generally. But we are not recognizing that. So it's now we are like the butts in between. The traditional system has broken down. We don't have the modern system to put in place. We need to bridge that gap. Really, it's a worrisome development. Suicide is quite common, I must say, generally. But in the last 1 month, for us to be recording so many is obviously not a pleasant situation. Generally, what we often don't appreciate, or the public often does not appreciate, is that for every 100 cases of suicide, 95 of them, so in other words, 95% of all attempted suicides or completed suicides are actually from mental health problems, psychological issues. And of course, my saying so does not mean, and I'm not saying that they are madness or the people who attempted suicide were mad, no, but they certainly had psychological issues. They are actually crying for help. Attempted suicide is a cry for help, that they really want some needs to be met. And these needs may have come from various angles, including among students, for instance, a pressure of work. Somebody may be taking a course that a person thinks he or she may not be interested in, but is probably pressurized by the parents, or may be interested in it, but there he or she meets other people and the coursework becomes a little too competitive for him or her, or other attending problems. And so all this become a pressure on the person's mind. And so on the spur of the moment, at that point, he thinks, in fact, his coping mechanisms would have broken down, and so he thinks the only way out is to attempt suicide. Somebody else may be involved in a relationship issue, a relationship gone sour, and the person thinks it's a failure or she's a failure, and the only way out is to attempt suicide.
Right.
Somebody may have a frank or underlying frank mental illness, depression, bipolar disorder or mood disorder, or some other kind of mental illness, and suicide becomes a way out for the person. So these are various issues which we need to recognize. I have been listening to some of your sister stations, radio and TV stations, lambasting those who attempt suicide or else their parents. Don't you realize that life is worth it, and are you stupid to be attempting suicide? All that shows lack of understanding. In actual fact, they are crying for help, and we should take it upon ourselves as a society to say that we have failed them, rather than to blame them or their relatives for not preventing the phenomenon. The holistic approach program, simply putting a policy might not be the ultimate solution. Is one of the ways, that's fine, but we need to look at it holistically. Our mental health issues generally, do we recognize mental health issues? Do we have the necessary structures to handle mental health problems? That is very crucial. As we talk right now, we have a mental health act, thank God, Act 846, but the enabling legislative instrument, LI, is not there, and it's the LI that will really fulfill or ensure that the mental health act is fully implemented. So if you don't have the LI, you may have the policy, the anti-suicide policy, that might not resolve the issue. So you need the LI, you need to get the act fully implemented. You need to resource the facilities, the authority and the facilities to be able to institute all these policies and approaches that we want.
Right. So that was Dr. Osei speaking with my colleague Gifty and Pierre on The Pulse earlier on today. Joining me in the studio for some analysis is Reverend Johannes Kominta Mensah, who is a sociologist and a marriage counselor. Welcome to today's big story. So let me pick, first of all, your preliminary observations about all this suicide we're seeing in recent times.
Yeah, it's worrying now. Once upon a time, suicide was not common in our country. Now it is becoming a trend. But what I've observed is that as soon as the media focuses on one suicide case, then there is a kind of, I don't know if you have observed that. That is the first observation. When you hear somebody has butchered a wife or butchered a family, the next couple of months, you hear nothing but about,
So are you blaming the media for causing this kind of thing?
The media has not done anything wrong. But you see, by imitation, on sometimes people also imitate, okay? People look at it, they copy blindly and imitate. They know that, well, if somebody has been able to do it, then why not me? It is not to blame the media.
But that's interesting for some, people to be thinking that way.
Yeah, it happens a lot. It happens a lot. You see somebody wear a very nice dress, and sometimes you feel like you're also being in that, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, especially when your situation, you presume the situation to be desperate, when no one seems to care, when all your friends have abandoned you, when you are going through the pains, when everybody around you seem to be against you, when you hear voices talking to you, when you are desperately looking for consolation and you can't find, when your friends can't understand you, even your own family members, then you say, well,
even as you try hard to make them understand.
You are trying very hard, but they think that
nobody seems to. They think you're a weird person out of the world, so nobody wants to understand.
No one wants to be there for you, and that is it. I was happy when I heard the doctor saying that society or family system breaking down. That's correct. In fact, our friend Emil Durkheim, the sociologist, made mention of two important things: social integration, and then he says when there is strong social integration and social regulation. When the norms are stringent, when the regulation becomes very, very tight, people are forced to commit suicide. And when there is also no norms to hold them together, a state of normlessness, that could also account for suicide.
But why would that be?
you see, you know, a country like Japan, affluent society, very filthy rich, but has the highest rate of suicide. You know, when you have been able to achieve, when you have reached the highest point of your life, nothing seems to have meaning anymore. You see, in life, you are struggling to get something. When you get this, you want to move to the next. And that keeps you going. Exactly. But the moment you happen to get a feeling that I have everything, and then nothing is there to intrigue you anymore.
But let's talk about the students, university students we've seen. At least I can talk about the one in Kumasi, a very young lady who must be ambitious. I mean, normally that's what we should see. And this one that happened yesterday in the University of Ghana, a very young lady at level 400. She's almost completing university. What would push, I mean, such people to commit suicide?
I don't know if what I was hearing was true, but I heard that there is an underlying relationship problem. That's what somebody said. I don't know how true. I cannot verify.
The one that happened yesterday or the one in Kumasi?
The Kumasi one, I don't know if I
think I also heard same relationship problems.
And then another one, somebody was saying that maybe something to do with his coursework or something.
Yes, we heard something like that.
They're all, people are speculating.
Yes.
They are all speculating. But whether relationship or coursework, you see, we have set very high standards.
But it will be interesting to think that somebody filled a paper so they will commit suicide.
Yeah.
Why would somebody do that?
It's normal. It's normal. You see, you have set society has set high hopes and high standards. Okay. No, our pulpits, we are giving false hope to people. Today's Christian modern religions are giving, religion is supposed to give hope. But when there's false hope, it also has its own challenges, okay? Because society does not expect you to fail. You must succeed. I mean, you must get to the top. You know, you must be, expectations are high. Okay. And whenever there is high expectations, and if you think you cannot meet that expectation, what do? You know, society has set standards. You must conform. Somebody is in the 30s, you can choose not to marry. Society insists. You are 30, you are going. You must marry. As if you are refusing. Exactly. So when that regulation is very, very, very high, and you think that you cannot meet that standard, and that nobody seems to understand you,
then you begin
to think of what? After what? If I cannot meet it, what am I here for? Let me just leave and let me allow those who can meet those standards to be there. And that is what is happening. I think our religion today must be examined. Exactly. And the high hopes that we are given, we have many pastors and motivational speakers. Whatever they are saying may be true, but might not be realistic. See, not all truths are realistic. Okay. You may give very wonderful sermons on homeless giving, you know, that kind of assurance to people. But when, as a matter of fact, the reality is that in life, not all of us can move to that level.
Of course,
some can make it.
Cannot be equal.
We cannot be equal.
So.
We cannot be equal. Some may get there, others may not get there. It's like if in the race, you know, or you know, when you are running the race, you know, we all start, you know, begin at the same time.
But
some will end
at the
early.
same
You cannot end at the same time.
But interesting, if there's a video I'm going to show you right now, Dr. Osafo, who is a psychologist and who is also a suicidologist, and he makes a point that infusing hope into people is very, very good. And so he is calling for the pulpit to be turned into messages of hope. Let's listen to him, then we can have a beautiful conversation on that.
I feel I'm a burden. I feel I have no meaning in life. And that is serious. Loss of meaning in life is serious. You find out in the suicidal mind. You may find a suicidal mind feeling burdened, that I'm a burden to my parents. I feel that my other siblings are better than myself. You may also find them unable to, for example, generate options in solving their problems. So when you ask them, have you thought about doing this? No. Why? Well, I don't know. It's difficult for them to really generate options. If a child says, I want to do medicine, and did not, for example, qualify to get into medical school, there are other things that I can do. So one of the things we're going to ask them, have you thought about other things? Well, I haven't thought. It's medicine. It's either I get medicine or I die. So they may be constricted mentally in generating options. You may find hopelessness in the suicidal mind. And in fact, let me just add this. The infusion of hope is so powerful.
Okay.
And this is where pastors are needed. This is where our pulpit should be turned into messages of hope. We need to preach hope to our young men who are unemployed. In fact, in one of the studies that will be published pretty soon, we found a strong association between unemployment and suicidality in Ghana. And it's becoming a problem, not only in Ghana, but even generally in low and middle income countries. So suicide is becoming more of a psychosocial issue than a typical psychiatric condition where one will say that the person died is because of depression. In fact, let me hasten to add, all over the world, people have thought that when you are depressed, you kill yourself. But recent studies report otherwise. I guess what we need to do is to let our kids understand in life that the struggles in life are not permanent. The difficulty we have, and I have worked in this for at least, I haven't practiced for about 14 years as a psychologist. Students often will rush, impulsively take decisions. I am not good. Such globalized way of thinking. And I have a problem here with parents who may not be too good when they were equally in school. They may be trailing when they were in school. They may be below even average. And here they are putting up pressure on their kids.
Yeah, probably because they've seen where their results have
we
got
know
them.
intelligence can have a genetic link.
Sure.
I mean, so if you are not very intelligent when we're growing up, please be empathic and help your child. But a child can through discipline and help acquire, some other better ways, of learning.
All right, so Dr. Joseph Osafo is a clinical psychologist and he's a suicidologist. And he makes a point that infusing hope into people is very good. But you believe that they're giving so much hope to the people. Is it not the case that they're giving hope, but they're not giving the youth pragmatic steps they can, follow to get there?
I think that hope is important, but false hope is something else.
So how then does it become false hope?
Aisha, you and I know that not all of us can make it the way others are making it.
But you keep on giving us the hope,
we must give ourselves some hope. Okay, but when the standards have been set, and when the status quo is that everybody must make it, you must get there. Okay, when pulpits are preaching something contrary to realities. Okay, why should, Jesus Christ go through suffering? Okay, suffering is part of life. And all religious leaders, in one way or the other, went through that kind of. But see, when we are giving hope that there's no need for you to suffer. If these young ladies, let's assume that whatever we are hearing is true, that there were relationship issues. Okay, what is wrong if a guy decides not to go out with you anymore? What is wrong?
And so we need to let them understand that the fact that you want to love, you must know that you will be hurt at a point.
Exactly. It's not automatic that the fact that I love you, you must also love me back. And that once I decide to love you, that should be the end.
Right.
No. I think that is what our young people have not been conditioned to know.
Right.
Two, as it's been, I think other speakers have spoken about that. Society is no longer playing that role. See, we have moved from traditionality to modernity.
Okay.
And as we are moving towards modernity, the mechanisms that holds us together have broken down.
Let's talk about the family system, for instance.
The family system has broken down totally and completely.
How?
You see, parents have no time for their children. Anymore. Only teachers are playing that role.
Right.
One teacher takes care of about 50 kids.
Exactly.
Some of them even 60, 70.
Right.
What attention can one person give to the 61 school at St. Stephen's? 100 to a class.
Wow.
Room. How can one teacher take care of these people? And they start from the morning till the evening. And the parents come, they carry them. And that's all.
And so parents have failed in their role.
Parents are not playing the role of parenting.
Right.
They are providers, but not parenting. No. They are giving them goods, food, clothing. They do that. Weekends, they go shopping because they think that by making this available to the children, life will go on well with them.
Right.
But morality and strengthening their minds for them to accept certain things, those ones are not there. And see, we are not telling the truth to the children.
Okay.
I think we live in a world where people don't want to be told the truth anymore. You better just water down the truth and the realities, and then you think that things will be okay with you. I think these are contributed. The family system has broken down. That kind of support that we used to get when we were young. Your sister, your aunt is your mother.
Your mother's sister is your auntie, your uncle, your mother's brother, your uncle,
everybody has the right to correct you,
exactly,
to take a stick or a cane and say, look, if you don't stop, I'll give you, you know, and then you run away because you're even afraid you're going to report it to your mom, and your mom.
So is it the case that because we've modernized, so we're now more into the nuclear family than the extended family? Do we miss the nuclear family now because of some of these things we're facing?
See, we Africans, we are living like Europeans and Americans. They have everything.
Don't you think it's society that has brought us this far? For instance, you talk about parents not having time for their kids. And the question remains, if parents do not work, how would they support the home? How would the home run?
You see, one fact remains that Africans like to imitate. We are not building on the structures we have inherited. We have thrown away everything that we have, and we are picking up from whatever cultures. Remember, it took them hundreds of years, some of them thousands of years, to get where they are. We are struggling, but we want to walk like they are walking. Okay. So institutions are broken down.
Right.
And institutions are those that hold us together. The bonds, the web and tissue that held people together.
What type of institutions are you talking about? Churches?
I'm talking about the church is playing some role.
Okay.
Okay. Family institution is broken down, marriage institution is broken down, single parenting, you know, our type of socialization, you know, it's becoming one. It's not that kind of those days when kids will meet and play together, you know, dance round at night and others. No, it's individualism, egoism. Yeah. So when I'm suffering, I keep the suffering to myself. And you see, when the egoistic suicide is as a result of what? Individuation. When I think that I'm alone and I don't even need to talk to anybody. And these days, the WhatsApp and others are keeping our kids busy without society playing the role that's supposed to play. All these have contributed in causing some of these problems and challenges that we have in our world of today.
All right, I think that Dr. Joseph Osafo, once again, the psychologist, he's done exemplary work on suicide, and he's bemoaned the lack of skills among teachers and supervisors in spotting suicidal tendencies in students who may be going through crisis as they try to cope with stressful academic and social life. Let's listen to Dr. Osafo once more.
In some of the schools, we may have counseling and placement centers, but they are not proactive. We're waiting for the kids to come. Come. And when people are going through crisis, remember, if it's suicide, they want to die. So why would they come? You have to pursue after them. You have to go out there in some latitudes where people have attempted to, work and reduce suicide. They have had, for example, to even train all teachers to spend some time in sport. Exactly. You find a child in a classroom suddenly withdrawn, bothered, crying all the time, not excited again, sometimes very aggressive and irritable. You just get close to the child and you can hold the child's arm and say, let's go here. We don't do that. In our university, and I commend some of our students who will, for example, hold the hand of their friend, and they bring them to me and say, I think my friend has a problem, and they have received help.
Okay, so yesterday, for instance, we had a counselor saying that the children or the students do not make use of the counseling units in their schools. Here is Dr. Osafo, who's done research, and he says that we have to reach to these people. We don't need to wait for these people to come to us.
Correct. You see, I don't know if you have been to a Hotokrom. They have this place for children challenged, physically, mentally challenged kids. Okay. And if you study these kids and what holds them together, it is not the parents who are bringing them. It's the caregivers who move from house to house to look for them, because some parents may feel shy to let others know that they are having this kind of. Okay. So why are we saying that we are waiting for them? Again, research has shown that about 12% of the nation's population may be suffering from one mental illness or
it
the
doesn't
other.
really mean that the person should be tattered or wearing tattered clothes. I mean,
no,
the person
it has
may be
nothing
fine,
to do with that. You may be
looking fine
and,
outside.
I mean, brilliant even in school, and sometimes so deceptive. You know,
Right.
if you look at the level of intelligence and his attitude, you cannot believe that. But they are suffering from that. Okay, so that is what is happening. So instead of us saying, let us wait,
For them to
how
come to
many
us.
pastors are trained in the field of psychiatry?
But we as individuals, mostly we have colleagues, we have sisters, we have brothers, we have mothers, fathers, and all of that. How do we identify such people around us? And what do we do in case we identify people who are moody, who don't want to talk to anybody? How do we do it so we can prevent these kind of things from our society?
There are various ways of doing it. Number one, like you said, identifying the problem is part of the solution. You see, but because you have no time, even to be with the kids, we don't even know
What's
what
maybe wrong with them.
And there are some people who, by their very nature, you know, withdraw. They are the types.
The reserved
type, you know, they withdraw and they are reserved, and so it's very difficult to even know what a person is going through that kind of problem. Right. Okay. Then there are other people who may be very, very loud. You might think that things are.
So that is easy to identify.
It's easy to identify, but there are some which are so complex. Identifying them becomes a problem. How many psychiatrists do you have in our system? Now, thank God we have psychiatric nurses, but again, they are in the hospitals. If you have a problem, come to us, and then we shall attend to you.
And a lot of people don't want to go to the psychiatric hospital because of the notion that the person may be mad.
Mad, yeah. So all these things are there, and they are all affecting us. So again, it comes back to what Dr. Osei has said. Society has created a kind of, you know, that.
So you agree society has failed?
Certainly.
Well, many thanks to you. Dr. Johannes Ko-Mensah Mensah is a sociologist and a marriage counselor. So we've been talking about the recent trend of suicide, especially being committed among students at the tertiary level. And we've heard all that has been said on the issue. We'll keep following the issues and bring you updates on these developing stories. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Enjoy the rest of our programs.